This video is going to walk you through the process of creating your first campaign in LeadProsper from start to finish. Once you've created an account, which you can do at leadprosper.io, you'll log in and see the dashboard. Eventually, the dashboard will display all kinds of useful high-level information about your campaign traffic, revenue, and more. But for now, it's a clean slate to create your first campaign. Let's start by adding some clients within the Clients tab. Keep in mind that LeadProsper isn't meant to be a CRM. Clients simply tell the platform and the user where the data is coming from and where it's meant to go. Go ahead and add your lead supplier or your own company if you're generating the leads yourself. Next, you'll add a buyer or endpoint, whether that's a CRM, a dialer, or an API that the leads will be sent to. Once you've added your clients, head to the Campaigns tab. There are a few resources here to help you, but for now, click this button to create your first campaign. Next, you'll give your campaign a name. It's important to note that the name of your campaign will be in the API specs. If you're brokering leads and include your buyer in the campaign name for your own analytics purposes, it's a good idea to also add a public name so that this information won't be visible to your supplier when they receive your API specs. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's continue with our campaign using waterfall distribution. The next step is to enter the fields that you and your buyers are collecting. These fields would be outlined on your buyer's API posting instructions, or if you're generating your own leads, you would map the fields to reflect what's being collected on your form. Once you've created a few campaigns, you'll be able to easily recreate them by importing fields with this button, but for now, we need to add fields one at a time. Over here on the left, I've got example buyer posting specs. This is for a sample solar campaign. I'm going to go ahead and add these fields into my campaign, paying special attention to the field type and format and whether or not it's required by my buyer. LP campaign ID, LP supplier ID, and LP key will be hard-coded in later. So I'll start with this first required field, email, and work my way through. As you add your fields, pay special attention to the naming convention and format requested by the buyer. For some fields like name, city, or address, you'll have no choice but to use the text format. But for others like state or phone number, it can be more specific. For example, if you're collecting a phone number, your buyer might want it as 10 digits plus hyphens, 10 digits plus a country code, or a number of other options. If the data isn't formatted correctly, the lead will fail. Feel free to choose the format requested by your campaign's initial buyer. If you have multiple buyers requesting data in different formats, you'll need to use transformers, which we'll cover in a different video. Your buyers might also have different requirements regarding field names. If you're setting up a multi-buyer campaign, just use logical field names that make sense to you. When you add your buyers down the line, you'll be able to map the field name you collect with the one they're expecting, which we'll go over in our video on the payload builder that's linked in the top right corner of your screen. In our sample campaign, we asked a solar-specific question about the amount of shade on a lead's roof. This field is a multiple values one choice format. Once you've added fields, you'll see an option to turn on third-party validation services. Because you can turn these on at any time, we'll skip them here and make a separate video going over them in detail. The final step in our campaign is to set up a dupe checker. This feature will ensure that LeadProsper is failing leads that have already been delivered based on the fields of your choosing. The most common fields applied to a dupe checker are phone and email. You can decide whether a lead is classified as a dupe if all the specified fields match or just one of them match. You also determine how many days the platform will look back for duplicate data, with 90 days being pretty standard. Finally, do you want to check for duplicates on a buyer level or a campaign level? If you're checking for them on a buyer level, the campaign will accept a duplicate lead, but make sure it's routed to another buyer who hasn't seen it before. If you're checking for dupes at the campaign level, any incoming leads matching data that's been received in the last 90 days will be rejected. Now, let's save our campaign and get our client set up. Start by clicking here to add a supplier. If you've been following along, choose a supplier that you added earlier in the Clients tab. Add caps to limit how much data you ingest from your supplier. You can add daily, weekly, monthly, and overall caps, and even toggle on this option to assign caps to specific days of the week. To leave your campaign uncapped, leave these values set at 0. On the pricing page, we'll set the default price we agreed to pay our supplier for each lead. In this case, let's say we're buying high-intent solar leads for $25 each. You can also set conditional pricing based on your fields. Maybe you're willing to pay more for leads in Texas, say $35. On the filters page, we can add granular filters based on any fields we've created. Maybe solar leads in Texas are worth more to our buyer, but they don't have any installers in New York and New Jersey. We can add a state filter, and we can filter out New York and New Jersey. Once you click Finish, we'll click this Add a Buyer button. If we click here, we can either create a new buyer or add one we've already created in the Clients tab. As you're building out your buyer, you're able to determine price settings, cap settings, filters, and static fields. We'll go over these in future videos, but the most important step here is within the Payload Builder found on the Real-Time Action page. This section is where you decide what the platform does when a lead is successfully ingested. You have a few options here. You can post the lead directly to your buyer's API, ping out partial information as part of a ping post scenario, store the lead within LeadProsper, or email the lead directly to your buyer. Most of the time, leads are sent via direct post. Before we proceed, we need to get a hold of our buyer's posting instructions. If you're lucky, they'll resemble the sample instructions here, but they could be in a Word document or even typed out in the body of an email. We'll make another video with some lower quality posting instructions to show you what you might have to work through. But for now, let's assume your buyers are up to speed. First, the posting URL. Where's the information going? The buyer's provided this URL, so let's copy and paste that here. We recommend using copy and paste whenever possible because a typo in the Payload Builder can leave you scratching your head wondering why your campaign isn't working. Next, we need to choose our request method. Our options are get, post, and put. We can see here that our buyer has requested post. Now for the payload type. They've given us the option to use either a form or a JSON. If your buyer didn't specify, you can tell what they're expecting by the sample payload they provide. If the payload is made up of each field written out in one long string like this, LP campaign ID and LP supplier ID and LP key, you know they're expecting a form. If the payload looks like this with each field on its own line, they're expecting a JSON file. Before we move past the Payload Builder, we need to hard code some static fields so the buyer knows where this data is coming from. You can find that information in the field section of your posting instructions. But because these values match the example payload, we can just copy and paste this into my Payload Builder. Finally, we need to key responses so that LeadProsper knows the status of requests. Here, our buyer tells us that all responses are going to be sent back in JSON format. And we can see that the key preceding the response is status. So we'll go ahead and copy that key, status, and the value for an accepted lead, which is accepted. We'll do the same thing for duplicated, which is status and duplicated. Now, we need to test our campaign to make sure everything's working. To test your buyer, click the menu button and then go to Test Buyer. We can generate some dummy data to make our lives easier. I like to put tests in a few of the fields so that the person on the other end of this API knows that this is a test and not an actual lead. Let's go ahead and send that request and see our response. As you can see, the lead was accepted. We'll copy this response and go ahead and send it to our buyer to make sure everything looks good on their end. Once we have the go-ahead, we can take our campaign live. If we had gotten a failed response, for instance, maybe a field was in the wrong format, we would have gotten an error message and information about what was wrong with that request. Testing helps you troubleshoot and eliminate any issues before the campaign is launched. When we're ready to go live, we can go back to our buyer and hit this button to resume our campaign. To connect LeadProsper to your data source, whether it's your own lead generation form or a supplier, you'll go ahead and send them these supplier API specs, which contain all the documentation they need to route data into your campaign. And that's all there is to setting up a new campaign. As always, if you have any questions, please make use of the support button. We've got some resources here you can search through to find answers to your questions, or you can click this Ask button and submit a ticket via email. Occasionally, we'll have live chat options as well, but even if you send an email, we'll get back to you as quickly as possible, usually in just a few minutes.